In this section, we're going to be working on something called a recursive rule. The recursive rule means the one before, it means really reverse. So we're going to write on here that it means the one before. So it's what comes before. In other words, it means to reverse, go backwards. Okay, so these rules are very easy, very straightforward, but they must be exact. So we're going to start with the recursive rule for the geometric series. It's super easy. What you need to do is remember how to find the rate. So on this first example, the rate is going to be 4. We just need the first term. That's very straightforward. And then we need to know the term before. The term before would be almost like our 0 term in the arithmetic sequence. So instead of multiplying by 4, we're going to divide by 4. So when we divide 2 by 4, our n minus 1 term is the one that happens before, is going to be 1/4. Okay? But when we're writing the rule, it's pretty straightforward. We just go like this. We say a sub 1 equals 2, and that is required. You must always write the first term. Then all we have to do is write a sub n equals a sub n minus 1. That means I will always go to the one before and I will multiply by the rate. This is how you write the recursive formula. Now we are not going to need this specific term to write it, so I'm going to erase it. I just wanted to show you how you would find it. Now in the next one, I want to know, how do I get from 9 to 3 or from 3 to 1? Well, I'm not multiplying, I'm dividing by 3, but remember, since we always do multiplication, we say we're multiplying by 1/3, and my first term is 9. So to write the rule that's recursive, it's required. You must always write down the first term. Then our next term is found by taking the previous answer times the rate. So for example, if I wanted to find the second term, it would be very easy. I would put the 9 in times 1/3, and then I would be at my second term, which is 3. Okay? All right, so we are going to write the first 5 terms of a sequence, and we've been given our rule. I don't particularly like the way they write this rule, but I think they do it in that way so it was easier for people to understand that they put the n minus 1 at the end so it doesn't get confusing. But we already know that -2 is our first term. So then what we do is we take the -2 and we plug it into the formula and we multiply it by -3 and we get an answer of 6. It means you're always taking the answer that came before it and doing the rate to it. So multiplying that by -3. Multiplying by -3. Multiplying the answer previous by -3. That's how we've been working on these anyway. It's just writing it formally. So here's my first term of 4. I will multiply every single time by 2. So take the previous number 4, multiply by 2. Take the previous number 8, multiply by 2. Take the previous number 16, multiply by 2. Take the previous number 32, multiply by 2. It's what we've been doing anyway. Okay, so let's do a couple of problems. It says write the recursive rule. Super easy. Here's each of the pieces we need. It is required that you write the first term. Then the other part of the rule will be take the previous answer and multiply it by 0.2. And that's it. So here's the next one. You must write the first term. Then to write the rest of the rule, a sub n is a sub n minus 1 times 1/4. And that is it. That is how you write the recursive rule for the geometric sequence. Very straightforward. Now we're going to learn how to do it with the arithmetic sequence, okay? So we always need the first term and we need the difference. That's it. So on this particular one, we're adding 4. So my difference is 4. So you have to write the first term. That is required because we must have a starting point. Then we know that we would take, after that, every time we want to do the next term, we take the one before it and we add 4. That's called the recursive rule. Now to get from one term to the next on this one, I'm subtracting 4 over 2. That's going to be my difference. So my first term is 7 over 2. To find the next term in my sequence, I take the previous answer, which was 7 over 2, and I subtract 4 over 2. 4 over 2 is also 2. And that is how we would write the rule to find the next term. So in this one, again, this is arithmetic sequence. We're just asked to find the next terms. So my first term is negative 2. To find the next term, I'm just going to subtract 10. And then I'm going to subtract 10. And then I'm going to subtract 10. And then I'm going to subtract 10. In the next one, I start with 4, and this time my difference is I'm going to add 5 each time. So I take the previous answer of 4, and then I add 5. I take my previous answer of 9, and I add 5. I take my previous answer of 14, and I add 5. I take my previous answer of 19, and I add 5, and I get 24. So I'm always doing my previous answer. Then we're going to do some practice with writing the rule. We have to have the first term and we have to have the difference. It is required. The first thing you always write is the first term because you need it to find the next term. Then we write the rest of the rule saying, take the previous term and add 3. That's it. In this one, here's my first term and here's my difference. I have to write the first term. It's part of the rule. There's always 2 parts to a recursive because we need to know where to start. Then we take the next part of the rule. We take the previous term and we're going to subtract 3. And that is how we do the recursive rule for the arithmetic sequence. So now our decision is going to become, can we identify if it's recursive? Rule for arithmetic or for geometric. So let's take this one first. 66 to 33, 33 to 16.5, 16.5 to 8.25. Well, we're not subtracting, so it looks like we are dividing by 2, which means our rate when we're dividing by 2 will be 1/2. So to write the rule, and this one is our geometric, and this one is our arithmetic, and I know that because the geometric has a rate, we're multiplying. Arithmetic, we are adding, and it has a difference. I'm going to start with my first term. It's required. You have to write it. Then we have a sub n equals a sub n minus 1, which stands for the previous term, times the rate. Okay. Next one, looks like I'm adding 1, adding 2. Oh, no, so I must be multiplying by 2. So my rate is 2. So I am going to write the rule, and this one again is going to be geometric. So my first term is 1. The second part would be a sub n equals a sub n minus 1 times my rate, which is 2. All right, this is the recursive rule.